To get started adding details, we're going to outline our pencil lines. In my video, I used a black oil pastel and I found that it was kind of tricky to work with because it kept getting stuck and didn't have very fluid line marks. So we're going to use a black crayon instead. We're going to just trace over your pencil lines until your animal is outlined with a nice thick black line, and then we'll be ready to add in our Dean Russo inspired designs. We're going to use neon oil pastels to create the designs on our animal. If you're more comfortable, you can draw out your designs with a pencil first, but if not, you can just go right in using our oil pastels. The neon oil pastels tend to clump up a little bit, so you want to be really patient and make sure you're keeping your work really neat as you're working, because this can get messy quickly, and then we would have to start all over with our tracing. So make sure you're really taking your time. I have a lot of photos of Dean Russo's work posted in the presentation if you want to look through to get some inspiration. There's also a page that gives you some ideas on some simple designs that you can do to add to your animal. We're going to use bright colors, big, bold designs to make it look like it was inspired by Dean Russo's work. We're filling up our animal, but keeping it neat and organized. You don't want just scribble marks all over your animal. You want to make it look super interesting, make it pop. I chose to use all different colors. You can choose to use just warm colors inside your dog, and then you could use cool colors in your background when we go to create that later. A lot of people choose to work with one color family, and that could work really well. If you would like to just use all different colors, then that works for you too. It is your work, and it's up to you how you want to make your final product look. Keep in mind that we will be painting over this, so we don't want to be coloring any areas in solid with the oil pastels. We're just creating some pattern designs because we're going to be doing a tempera cake resist over top of our oil pastels once your design is finished. Now that your design is finished, we're going to get our tempera cakes out. Now these work a lot like watercolors in that you need a very wet brush, and we're going to wake up our tempera cakes, so you kind of want to create a puddle on top of them. We're not going to take our brush and dig into these at all. We're not going to push our brush down into our tempera cakes. We want to get it nice and wet on top, and then it will work really nicely on our paper. The more paint you have on your brush, the more vibrant or the more apparent your colors are going to seem. And if you have a lot more water and less paint, then your colors are going to come up lighter. If you chose to work with certain color families for your oil pastels, you could do the same thing for your paint part as well. So if you did all your oil pastel designs using warm colors, then maybe you could do all your paint using cool colors. If you did all random colors, you can choose to do all random colors or focus more on a color family for the paint. It's up to you. When you go to paint with your tempera cakes, I would recommend starting with a very small brush to do the animal's details first. So I got a little bit of black and did the nose, and then I went in to make his eyes pop really nicely. So if you work on the small details of your animal with a small brush, then we'll move on to do a larger brush for the rest of the colors. Try to avoid where you did your small details or your colors are all run together. It's up to you how you want to paint this. If you want to just do one color, I chose to do all random colors, trying to keep it so they didn't bleed together. You do want to have some sections, but again, the more water you have on your brush, the lighter your colors will appear, and then you can layer on top to create different layers of really bright colors as you work, if that's something that you'd like. Also remember that we're going to be cutting this dog out, so it is okay if we go a little bit outside of the lines, but try to keep inside your animal nice and organized. We want it to really pop. You don't want it to create muddy colors, and if your colors start to run together too much, then it's just going to be one big kind of brown puddle. So take your time in making sure that it doesn't run too much together. And if you use too much water or too much paint, then it's going to cover up your oil pastels. Our goal here is to create a resist, and that means that our oil pastels are going to kind of say, heck no paint, you can't sit on top of me. So you want to leave just a little bit of water and a little bit of paint on top of the oil pastel so that they still pop out and they're really vibrant for your viewer to be able to see underneath your paint color. Once your animals are covered in color, then you are going to very carefully keep it as flat as possible and carry your work like a pizza to the drying rack.